Hey, what's up guys? This is Jarrett Gist, Certified Orientation Mobility Specialist here at the Lighthouse for the Blind in Tyler. And today we're going to learn about numbering systems. And so I've got some blocks here put up for you guys. And we're going to talk about, how to teach that for somebody who's blind or visually impaired. And hopefully there's going to be some things in here that you may think about a little differently, or hopefully some teaching strategies that can help you make this more effective for you. So I've got multiple blocks drawn here, and what we're going to do is, for the sake of making this easy, we're just going to say, obviously these are the streets, right? So we're going to say that this is heading north. Obviously this would be heading back down south, right? And then we've got east over that way, obviously, and west this way. So since we're in Tyler, we're going to be referencing off of Tyler streets. And so we're going to be calling, this is going to be Broadway, which is obviously our north-south street. This is the division line of the city. And the other division line of the city is Irwin Street. And so this street right here, this is Irwin, right? So every city has two division lines, which dictate your address system. And so there is a north-south division line, which is Broadway, and an east-west division line, which is Irwin Street. And those separate the different sides of the city. So Irwin separates the north and the south, and Broadway separates the east and the west. It can be a little confusing because, while Broadway runs north-south, it separates the east side from the west side. So these are advanced skills that you only want to teach towards the end of your training with somebody. This is if they can grasp the concepts of understanding what it is, what a block is, obviously, how to effectively cross streets with confidence independently. So there's a lot of other things involved here before you even want to consider teaching this skill. For some students, some of your clients, this may not be something that you even want to dive into. You just have to obviously assess the individual's capabilities. But if they're at that point where really getting after it and they are capable of understanding how addresses can help them orient themselves to their environment, then we want to take a look at doing this. And so a couple of different things that we can look at. I want to give a quick shout out to DJ Dean from SFA. She let me borrow this. This is great. This is just made out of wood with raised wood blocks here. And this is fantastic. What a great tactile model for teaching the concepts of a block, teaching numbering systems, all that good stuff. So thanks again, DJ. This has been great. Guys, if you guys can make something like this or get your hands on something like this, I believe these blocks are just glued on. So again, shout out to DJ. Thank you very much. Another thing that you can do is on the fly, like if you're trying to teach somebody and you're trying to get tactile with it, you can use, I use this a lot too, is sticky pads, just notepads, the square notepads. So I'll bring a stack of them with me if I'm on the go, and I can just lay them out on a table, and we can use that as a tactile quick map. Not as good as obviously that, but if you've got sticky pads around, that can work too. So let's go back to looking at the division lines of the city. So neat fun fact is that historically, before roads, streets were put in, a lot of the times you'll see, especially in older cities, that a body of water is somewhere nearby the downtown area, which is now referenced by a street, or you could see railroad tracks as well. So like in Tyler, the railroad station is not very far from downtown. So this is the center, we're gonna say this is the center of the city, okay? And so everything, for instance, one block in the first block, right? This is the first block right here. The first block, this is the 100 block, right? 100 block. But it's not just the 100 block. We need to make sure we attach the compass direction to it. So this is like, this would be 100 West Irwin Street, right? That's 100 West Irwin because we are west of Broadway. Just like this one over here, this one's gonna be 100 East Irwin over here, right? So another thing to think about is that you've got obviously the odds and even sides of the street, right? And so the weird thing about Tyler and some cities, it just depends on the city that you're in. So you just need to make sure that you do your research, dissect your city before you start teaching this stuff. Because, for instance, this is on this side of the division line of Broadway, these are all evens. So, you know, this could be like, I don't know, is that like 102? And the farther we get from the division line, the higher the numbers go up. It might be 104, it may jump to 118, something like that, right? So if we cross the street, it's the beginning of a new block. So right here at the corner, this is gonna be, and this one is for real, this one is 200 West Irwin, 200 West Irwin, right? Because it's the beginning of the block. So I like to think of teaching blocks in terms of money because everybody can relate to money, right? And so we've got 200 West Irwin, or if we converted this to cash, let's say that's 200 West Irwin. Okay, not the best writing in the world, but you get the idea. So there is, if we drop a decimal point in there, the dollar amount represents the number of blocks we are from the division line. The cents amount represents the placement within the dollar, obviously, or the placement within the block. And so right here, as soon as we cross over, the street is the creation of a new block. So your student needs to understand that when you cross a street, you're in a new block. The tricky part about teaching this is that depending on what side of the block you're on, your address name is going to be referenced from the street that the door is facing. So what I mean by that is, let's say if you're at the corner here at 200 West Irwin, well, you would know that the front door faces Irwin Street. It doesn't face, what is this? This is College Street right here. So that's College Street, this is College. And so if the door faced College Street, right, what would the addresses look like right here? Well, we're within the first block from Irwin. See, it's kind of tricky here. We're in the first block, that's the 100 block. So it depends on what side of the block you're on to what street you're referencing from. So some people will get this and some won't, but for the ones that do, you can really get out there and locate specific addresses. Or if you're in a city and you're new to the city and you're given an address, I don't know, let's say 1600, I don't know, let's just say East Irwin, right? If we were at 1600 East Irwin and you'd need to pull a second address along that same street, let's say the next one you pulled was, if you were walking down and you found the next one at like, I don't know, 1620, you'd know you're getting farther away from the city and not closer. So then you could start problem solving and figure, okay, well, if I reverse direction, I'm gonna head back into the city versus away from it. Little different when you get into rural settings. So fun fact that county roads addresses were established because of 911 calls. And so they had to have a way to reference names and numbers for those rural settings. So it's a little different in a rural setting. You've got, for every 1,000 For every 1,000, that is 1 mile. 1 mile from the center of the city. From the center of the city, right? So if you're, you know, like 4,000, right? That'd be 4 miles away from the city. So that's a neat thing to remember as well. Like we talked about, you've got to be careful with understanding on what side of the block you're on for where your street is being referenced. So an interesting thing about Tyler again is that once you cross over the division line, so let's say, you know, this is all even here, right? So the even side of the block, even side of the street, you know, if we were on this side, these are the odds, right? These are the odds. Odds here, evens here. But the interesting thing is that when we cross over Broadway in Tyler, it actually flip-flops. A lot of times it doesn't, but in this city it does. So that's something important to remember. Thank you guys for watching. Again, this has been Jarrett Gist, challenging you to move.